I come from the corporate world where we are taught by Harvard Business Review, where someone stands on the cover of the magazine in a striped suit and basically says, oh, people perform their best results when they're stressed. I'm like, what an idiot, seriously. And somehow this can make the headline and we believe it, right? When in reality, by the way, guys, I don't have a clock and that can really worry me. Is there a clock here? Someone should wave when we're 25 minutes in so that I don't run overtime. So basically, I believe people perform their best work when they're in amazing teams, when they're in flow, when they're inspired. It depends on how you define work. If work is to move boxes, maybe pushing them a little bit will move a couple of boxes more. But if it's to create a beautiful piece of art or a beautiful, kind of connection to people, or to deal with customers, all of that basically demands other things other than stress. Stress, as a biological response, is designed to run away from a tiger. That's our biological machinery, right? And to imagine that for us to get the best out of our teams, we need them to keep running away from tigers all the time, imaginary tigers, believe it or not, is actually almost like unacceptable when you think about it. And of course, being the person that I am, the first thing that comes to my mind in stress is physics. I apologize, I know this is not the room for physics, but if you remember in elementary physics, when we were maybe, 6, 8, I don't know when you learned elementary physics, they taught you that stress was what an object experiences when you apply an external force to it, right? But that the stress was not equal to the force, it was equal to the force divided by the cross-section of the object, right? The example they gave us in the Middle East, which I eventually realized was not taught in other schools around the world, was that this is why the camel's hoofs don't, don't sink in the sand. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that, right? Even though I had never seen a camel by the time. But anyway, the idea is that the camel is a ton of weight, but you distribute that across 4 big hoofs. And then the stress on every square centimeter of the hoof is not that high, so the camel doesn't sink in the sand. In humans, so basically in physics, stress is force divided by square area, right? In humans, stress is the challenges that you face divided by, if you want, your square area, your skills, your resources, your abilities to deal with the stress, okay? And that gave me a very, very, very hopeful outlook on the idea of writing about stress, because in that case, while the external stressors are not always within your control, by the way, sometimes they are, okay, you have control over the square area. You can focus your abilities and skills and network and so on and so forth, not to just create more and more and be more productive and make more pounds in your bank account, but also to live a stress-free life. You can direct yourself in that direction, and then stress becomes a lot more manageable if you want. So in that case, stress is the sum of all the stressors you face divided by the sum of all your skills and abilities and resources to deal with them, right? So you can also, by the way, see that this didn't require physics, because in reality, things that freaked me out when I was 20, when I became 30, I managed to deal with them. When in my 40s, I dealt with them with ease. And then, honestly, when I face them in my 50s, I laugh. Like, I was ever stressed about that. Why was I ever stressed about that, right? Not because the challenge changed, but because the square area changed. My skills, my abilities, my network, my resources, and so on. Right. So how about that guy that basically says stress is good for you? I mean, in a way, he's not lying. Huh? Stress is good for you when it's used within context, right? So there's no denying that if a tiger shows up, cortisol in your bloodstream followed by adrenaline is a very good idea. We want that, right? And actually, when you really think about it, the visual you want to imagine is the Incredible Hulk, right? You see that green, massive, Hulk of a man because of cortisol, too much cortisol, if you want. The research will show you, however, research of one of my dear friends, Dr. Jill Balti-Taylor, basically shows that cortisol in your blood reconfigures you completely, like almost makes a different human out of you for 90 seconds, only 90 seconds. And then within 90 seconds, cortisol is flushed out of your bloodstream, and you then have to refer to your intellect, believe it or not, to your prefrontal cortex, to your rational brain, to analyze the situation and see and assess if you need another shot of cortisol or not. Right? So every 90 seconds, you're supposed to look at the situation around you in a microsecond. This is not a conscious event. And then you basically ask yourself, is there a reason, further reason for fight or flight? Should I continue to stress this body? Right? And as you get another shot of cortisol, you can continue to be stressed. The problem in the modern world, when you really think about it, is that, how do I say this? There are no tigers, they're just emails, really, okay? Right? And so interestingly, when you go through your rational prefrontal cortex, you look at the email and it's still there, right? And you're still stressed. And you keep injecting yourself with stress hormones, sometimes for another 90 seconds, sometimes for another 90 minutes, sometimes for another 90 days. And I will tell you openly, sometimes for a lifetime.